Thank you very much, Kialebuha. President of the Republic, the Mayor of Tshwane, Minister of Arts and Culture, Premier of Gauteng, our sister who connects us with the world, Minister of Foreign Affairs, our ministers, brothers and sisters, mayors who may be here, all brothers and sisters who are here. I've come from home to visit home. I've been living in Ethiopia for the past 2.5 years, but I've never considered myself as a foreigner in Ethiopia. I've never considered myself as a migrant in Ethiopia. I considered myself as an African in an African country. And I must say that I've never felt from the way the Ethiopians treat us that we are foreign. Even though we may not understand Amharic, but they've never made us feel foreign. They've always made us feel we're in an African country as Africans. And I'm saying that because I recall that when I was growing up here in South Africa, I think South Africa was the most diverse African country. I was just telling my colleagues earlier that I lived in a household, in a Kaunda household. And I was going to primary school in Durban. And this household was my aunt's house, the sister to my mother. She was married to a Kaunda. And our neighbor was a Msereche. And they were called Amazizimbane. And you know Zulus, they can't pronounce things properly. What they actually means were that they were from Zanzibar. And even now, there's a huge Zanzibarian community in Durban. And we've never had an occasion to think about them as not part of us. In exile, our Treasurer General was Thomas Nkobi. He came back here as part of the ANC. He became Member of Parliament, and nobody said, Thomas Nkobi, where are you from? He was Zimbabwean. We had famous trade unionists from Malawi, Kadalia. We have famous people here from various parts, not only of the African continent, but of the world. And that's how we grew up. And that's how we'll continue. So we must deal with this aberration of people who beat up someone and say it's because they are not from here. It's not South African. South Africans really are very diverse. So I must say, though, that sitting where I was sitting, it was painful. Even those few people doing what they did was painful. But what warmed us, what warmed our hearts, is when we saw the South Africans, led by the president and the government, in their formations, religious leaders, civil society, government, women, youth, coming out and say, no, we are South Africans. we are Africans. One people, one destiny. So I think as we celebrate this 52nd anniversary of the Organization of African Unity, we must remember that the mission of those who founded the OAU, now the AU, was first to unite the Africans and unite them and galvanize and mobilize them to free the rest of Africa from colonial oppression, from apartheid. And this is a mission they accomplished very well, with the exception of Western Sahara. We still have a debt there to free Western Sahara. But let me also recall that at the time, the African countries took a decision that they will not come to South Africa. So people carrying African passports, except for the neighboring countries, were not allowed to come to South Africa. By choice, they decided they will not support apartheid, so they will not come to South Africa. Again, by choice, they decided that they will support the liberation struggles of South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, Angola, you name it, DRC, and they were not rich. But they shared the little they had with us. It wasn't only the government, civil society, students, they all participated in the liberation struggles of the continent, and particularly apartheid. But we were isolated here, those who didn't go out, because the Boers did not allow us free travel. We had travel documents, not passports, that only allowed us to go to Lesotho, Botswana, the neighboring countries. So when South Africa became free, the rest of the continent saw South Africa's freedom as much of their freedom as it was of South Africa's freedom. And therefore, it's not surprising that 60% of external tourists that come to South Africa outside South African borders are Africans. When we talk about the booming tourism in Africa, the majority are Africans, but we don't know. We think it's British, we think it's Europeans, but it's actually Africans who come in the majority as tourists. And they come to spend money here. It's their country. And we benefit from it. And as those who are entrepreneurs, they've gone out to Africa to make business because they see Africa, well, it's part and parcel of us. Our fortunes in Africa are intertwined. There is no country that can develop to its full potential without the rest of Africa developing. So we are one continent, one people, one destiny. And that's how we should look at it. And of course, integration is part of what the African continent is looking at. The previous generation freed us from colonialism. The present generation has to create an integrated, prosperous, peaceful, people-centered continent that's playing a dynamic role in the world. But we can't do that as individual countries. We have to do it together, integrated. And part of the integration means free movement of people and goods. And of course, it also means that African people must embark on a skills revolution to change this continent to a prosperous continent. So today, we are just celebrating our continent. We are celebrating our Africanness. We are celebrating our unity. We are one people and one destiny. One people, one destiny. So I'm sure Patrice Lumumba, where he is smiling. Where Madiba Keita is smiling. Where Kwame Nkrumah is smiling. Where Julius Nyerere is smiling. Where Abdul Nasser is smiling. Where Oliver Tambo is smiling. Where Lillian Ngoyi is smiling. Where Albertina Sisulu is smiling. Where Mary Ruth has just gone is smiling. One people, one destiny. One destiny, one people. Thank you.